Hello out there, and welcome to the No Shit Cast. I'm your host, Matt Frazier. Got another good sack of goodies lined up for us to talk about tonight. Another, just a bag of articles for us to go over and discuss. Sitting in the co-pilot seat as usual, none other than the great wizard of historical knowledge himself, Mr. Eric D. Smith. How you doing tonight, Mr. Smith?
I am doing very well.
In the engineering booth as usual, Mr. Devlin sitting back there driving the bus for all of us. I just get the accolades of being the captain now. It's a figurative sort of position now more than anything, right? I mean, I just sort of delegate and everybody else does the work. I kind of like this.
That's one thing I forgot to tell you. It was suggested that we keep the Bond villain theme going on.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I like that one too. Yeah.
Better than the AI Devlin?
Yeah.
Like Mr. Devlin, man of mystery.
Yeah, any of that Bond-esque such things.
Do we have some show includes Mr. Devlin, Bond villain? I think we did, right? I thought I had some stuff on there that I had to bring up. I can't remember.
The Devlinator, Von Devlinstein.
The Von Devlinstein. Oh yeah, Dan W is back and commenting again. He's really interesting. Hey, Dan. Yeah.
I'm lost now.
So he's back. So welcome back, Dan. Thanks for the kind comments and everything. Do we have a question? Did you come up with a question tonight?
I think he has one.
Oh, our Bond villain has a question tonight. What do you got, Mr. Devlin?
What is something that is popular now that annoys you?
Oh, God. Like most annoying or just in general?
The most annoying thing.
And who goes first?
Yeah. Most annoying. I have to think about this for a little bit, man. Because there's a lot of things. People nowadays think it's okay to have full-blown conversations with family and friends on their cell phones on speakerphone in very public places. That's probably...
Is that popular?
I'm seeing it more and more and more now, and it is dry in airports especially. I got to listen to Aunt Hilda talk to her sister about something that little Susie's doing that little Susie shouldn't be doing, and I'm thinking, well, I don't think everybody in the airport should hear what little Susie's been up to either.
Man,
that's kind of mine. It's nothing as benign as like leaf blowers or anything like that.
Especially being trapped in a small space.
Popular.
Probably.
So do you mean like in the context of like pop culture?
Like trends.
Ooh, what's a popular new trend?
I might be too old to know any new trends.
Well, wait a minute. Yeah, what's a trend?
Yeah, I know. Like when we think,
like Bugle Boy pants. I mean, let's talk about shit that would have been trends when would have been trendy when we were growing up. But the last time I thought of anything trendy or fashionable or popular, man, was like Purple Rain was the album.
The one thing I can think of recently. Not recently.
Okay.
That everyone was simultaneously annoyed about was Baby Shark.
Baby Shark. I was telling Devlin earlier today that I've never actually heard the song.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's a kid's song. It's like a real popular kid's song now. And it's referenced a lot in memes and TikToks. As he keeps sending me, like, I'm going to have to sign up because I'm sick of opening them in web pages. Devlin's bringing me over to the dark side of TikTok. So
for me,
we might have a TikTok account here soon.
It's got to be face filters on cameras.
Really?
Oh God, yeah.
Just period. Any of them?
Most of them, probably all of them. I don't like.
What if it's like just a clown or it turns you into a dinosaur or something like that, or it's kiss makeup or whatever? All the things that I'm personally guilty of. I'm just throwing it out there to see how you feel about it.
It's just annoying, It's like it's just annoying. I don't know. To me, I mean, it may not be to other people. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I hate seeing. And most of the things that I hate about it is when people are doing filters to make themselves look younger.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like where that if you know that person in real life, they don't look like that.
Right.
And it's a a big dichotomy, right? Because there's a big difference, right? But it also goes into that whole making yourself look like a cat or a dog.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
All the lovey-dovey
like an
pictures
Animaniacs character of some sort. Yeah.
And usually it's a girlfriend and a boyfriend hugging each other, curled up on the couch.
Problem is there's no like, how do I want to put this? I don't think there's any sort of understanding that some of this stuff should be for people under the age of 12. You know what I mean? Like Halloween costumes often have this problem up into the point it's like, well, nobody should be wearing that as a costume, right? Or whatever. But I think that people struggle with there being like, hey, this should be for like little kids and not,
They're having fun with it. Yeah,
who am I to judge?
Yeah. I've never said anything derogatory.
Yeah, as I sit here and pretend to be like a radio personality or something, right? I'm going on about what
to be
people
honest.
shouldn't do.
Yeah,
look,
man.
if it turns you on, do it. As long as you're not hurting anybody, I don't care. But I would say personally, I feel like it's a little outside my age group.
Also, taking pictures of your food.
Yeah, that was a big thing for a while. Now, what if you're having like a big Thanksgiving dinner and everybody's sitting around the Thanksgiving table?
If it was just for those kind of occasions, I'd be totally okay with that, right? But it's just the random food item when somebody makes something cool and you see it and you're like, scroll. Look, what the hell is that? Oh, it's food.
Right.
Oh, I thought it was something like vomit. Oh no, that's really good food. Yeah.
Yeah, right. What am I looking at here? Half-eaten sausage on a plate.
My brain cannot process it quick enough, man.
What you got, buddy?
I'm guilty of it too. I follow r/food on Reddit. So I always be scrolling through Reddit. I'm like, I'm hungry. I'm hungry.
I will say you're going to get a like if I ever see a euro that you made on the Facebook.
Oh dear God! Right?
You made some euros, man, as you guys know. That was fantastic.
Dude. Oh my God, they were so good.
It fed me for 2 days straight too. You're welcome. Like solid. Yes, thank you. It was
Turns
solid.
out our Bond villain is also a tremendous cook or chef.
Yeah, man.
I would say that was a culinary feast. Good Lord. Speaking of food, I've been really turned on lately by the whole, Devlin and I both been into this, but he got me into it, was watching these people cook. And I think that's from that channel you were talking about, the different cooking techniques and stuff that they use in other countries. And from that, like, you can go down this rabbit hole on YouTube. Like, my YouTube history is just got to be full of this stuff, right? You can go down this rabbit hole on YouTube of all of these different, like, street chefs and the different tools and the ways that they cook. And I mean, these guys are just flying, pounding food out across grills and with the different dishes and the way they make them and stuff. And I mean, it's this really intricate kind of thing, multiple ingredients, up 12, 13, 14 ingredients. And they're making them like 30 at a time, and it's just one dude, So as he's cooking across this grill, everything has to be done in the same sequence because that's when it's cooked and comes off.
Yeah,
like makes
you wonder if he could ever concentrate on just one thing.
Well, and because they've done this thing so much, their precision, like watching these guys cut fruit, like that's another big one you can watch is guys that will take like a machete. And I shouldn't say guys, I'm just saying people, because it's not always men. There's a lot of these videos that also have these women doing same type of stuff. It's just like, because if they miss, it's like finger gone, right? And the way they manipulate this stuff is just fascinating. But do you think how many repetitions does it take to get that muscle memory and that skilled of doing that exact same thing?
That's what it is. It's skill and talent blended together.
You think it'd just be full of repetitive sort of what do they call that, repetitive work injury, where people from doing the exact same things over and over, but it doesn't seem to affect these folks. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the quality of the food they eat.
Maybe. I don't know, man.
Given the circumstances, right? All right, you guys got anything? Devlin, did you give us yours?
A pet peeve?
Yeah, your modern pet peeve.
I
can't remember, or did you just come up with the question?
Let me think. I totally.
What's the rules? Are you exempt if you come up with a question?
Yeah, is that how it works? Right? If you come up with a question, you don't.
I don't have. I'm accepting of a lot of pop culture. Like,
yeah, you're the one that keeps introducing me to all this shit now.
Yeah, it used to, I can tell you
I got plenty of time now, And I mean, I'm just tidal wave of all this really new, interesting, funny stuff that he keeps sending me. He's like, nice. Dad, check this out.
Yeah, well, I can tell you an old popular thing that really annoyed me.
What's that?
It was the Dance Crave Whippin' Nay Nay.
Whipping. Oh yeah, watch me whip. Watch you nay nay.
It got so popular.
What do you think? What's that thing called with whether you sneeze into your arm or whatever? Dabbing.
Oh, dabbing.
What is that all about? You down with dabbing or whatever?
So it's like it depends on what you use it for.
Right.
People add it in dances. People add it as oh, I've successfully done this, and they dab.
Right.
Or people said that it used to be, people would have like drugs or like cocaine in the nook of their like elbow, and people would do that to snort it.
Why would you do that?
I heard that. That's where I heard that.
That's so strange.
It's really dumb.
I'm getting a bump. Cover me.
I'm not sure I did that right. I think I might have Heiled Hitler or something.
I don't think you did it right either. Yeah, we may want to take that back. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. Heiled Hitler.
That's the okay sign, right?
It's because I'm German.
What's that?
That's the okay sign, right?
Oh, let's not go down that road. Yeah. Let's bring up some articles and talk about scientific shit. I would much rather do that. Libations tonight, Mr. Smith.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying. So this one comes from NPR. A secret Air Force space plane lands after more than 2 years in orbit. Is that the first article?
It
really?
Is. It is.
Is that where I put it?
Yeah.
For some reason I thought I stuck that at the end. Anyway, scrolling down.
Wait. Oh, no.
Caught you sleeping.
And now that's a little bit of foreshadowing.
This would be the part in Austin Powers where I'd push the button and his chair would flip into a fiery pit of death. Mr. Devlin, work on that. I need a fiery pit of death button for you over here.
For me.
Okay.
You guys both need buttons now.
It's official. Google claims to have achieved quantum supremacy. Rumors have been circulating for weeks. This is from Futurism. Rumors have been circulating for weeks that the tech mega corporation, Google, has achieved quantum supremacy, meaning it's used an experimental quantum computer to perform a calculation significantly faster than a regular binary computer. In a mysterious paper spotted by the Financial Times on NASA's technical reports server in September, Google researchers claim to have beaten a supercomputer by a wide margin, but the paper was quickly deleted, prompting much debate about the claim's validity.
Well, as I believe it was Carl Sagan said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary credibility and validation. And
right.
Wait, there's another word in here. Not credibility, not validation, but
certification?
Verification.
Isn't that what certification is?
Yeah, I suppose.
It's a form of verification, I suppose, right? No, it's the result of verification.
Yeah.
Probably. Where the hell am I? Let's see. And that brings us to today, when Google officially published the paper in the prestigious Journal of Nature. In it, Google claims its Sycamore quantum computer has completed a random number generation related calculation in just 200 seconds. A task that would take the world's most powerful supercomputer 10,000 years, according to the tech giant. So
that would be pretty awesome if that were the case.
This is nuts, right? Because now this is the ability to are we superseding the capability of computations of the human mind if we're going to make a 10,000 time jump in capability?
I would imagine.
Well, that's not really what that's saying. It's 5,000 time. What? I don't remember.
But I think that's what they want.
It's a fuckload more, right? It's a lot more. The megacorp is clearly proud of its achievement. Google CEO Sundar Pichai even compared it to when the Wright brothers took off on the first plane ride in 1903 in an interview with MIT Technology Review. I do think it's at least that significant, if not more.
So I'm wondering if, like a lot of those early planes, if it just like smashed the computer somehow, but just like burn up or something, like.
What do you mean?
Well, just makes me wonder if they made the computation like they said they did, but it like ruined the equipment in some fashion.
Oh, it like destroys itself in the process.
Yeah, until they can figure out a way to make it more robust or something like that, So like it works like they maybe thought it would work, but they can't make it completely work yet.
Right. No, I get it. Yeah. Well, okay, now has it done anything useful? It's generated a random number generation. That's all it's done so far. Okay, so Google's biggest quantum computing competitor, IBM, is griping In a post published on Monday, IBM argued Google's showcase didn't, quote, account for plentiful disk storage and other optimization methods. Oh, so what are they saying? They're putting their finger on the scale? I love it when nerds argue.
Yeah, right.
When geeks fight. Look out, ladies. Calls are coming out. Let's see here. Therefore, Google's experiment is an excellent demonstration of the progress in superconducting-based quantum computing. IBM researchers wrote, but it shouldn't be viewed as proof that quantum computers are supreme over classical computers. So they're saying that all they really achieved was a mass optimization of existing sort of technology, but they're not really doing anything kind of a new way, I think.
Yeah,
That's what they're getting at.
Not really sure, but assuming they could make that continue to work, it would certainly have applications that would be,
no kidding.
World changing.
Well, right off the top of my head, weather forecasting, projecting the landfall and of the hurricanes.
Anything
much sooner,
related with math.
Where there's tremendous amounts of anything modeling. Where you got tremendous amounts of data that's being crunched to try to find correlation or
wave
try
function mathematics. Yep. That's like a whole branch of mathematics that would be good for.
Yeah, it's got enormous ramifications in pretty much every scientific field, from chemistry to everything. Biology.
So they proved that they had the computation power. They're just not able, I don't know what, to replicate it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's what they were saying. I think they just made the claim that they did it. So now it's got to get, look, before anything like this, I think gets accepted, it has to go before someone else has to replicate their results.
Got to verify it, yeah.
Okay, otherwise you're just self-reporting on, hey, I'm self-reporting that I can fly.
Yeah.
Right? What the hell does that mean? It means nothing. When someone else duplicates and says, yep, that works, then you've got something. Then it's real. All right, Mr. Devlin, what we got lined up next? Don't make me push his button. Oh, this is for the Halloween spooky stuff, right? So this comes from Boing Boing. An Iowa family wakes up to find 5 inches of blood flooding their house.
Get ready for Halloween, guys.
The Listina family of Bagley, Iowa were greeted with a wonderful Halloween surprise on the morning of October 3rd when they awoke to find 5 inches of animal blood, fat, and bones flooding through the basement. You just call the insurance company right away. I mean,
right.
Could you imagine being service master? They come out and go, burn this house to the ground.
Right. Cleanse it, burn it.
2 weeks later, it's still blooding. The Listinas have lived next door to a meat locker for the last decade, but the building was transferred to new ownership last April. And, well, something clearly went wrong because the drainage from the kill room backed up and clogged the shared pipelines, which spilled over into the Listina's house.
The kill room ruined everything.
Ugh.
I hate it when the kill room ruins everything.
It took 2 weeks for the meat locker to reach and offer to help pay for the mess, too, although they were cooperating with local health and sanitation services before that. So, looks like there's an issue there. Yeah, next article.
That's going. Yeah,
definition of a bad day.
They may not even be able to sell that house again.
That's what I mean. I think that's a total loss.
Yeah.
And you put it to diesel fuel in a flare, like that's gone. You don't and cap the plumbing and just that's it, right? Contaminated site. What is this? The next web.
You thought living in a graveyard was bad.
It could get a lot worse.
Yeah.
Why some scientists believe the world is a giant bubble bath filled with infinite universes.
Why do they believe that?
Do you think this is a prominent thing?
Well, I know a lot of people believe this. Yeah, I know a lot of people believe this.
Did it say it? Did it say it? Some scientists believe.
So, well, no,
there's a little emphasis. No, it just says why some.
I don't know. Like in around the turn of the millennia, in around like the early 2000s. This was like a big deal, man. Like everybody was talking about the bubble universe theory and how there was all of these dimensions within dimensions making parallel universes and that sort of shit. And, a lot of sci-fi movies like Sliders and Quantum Leap and movies.
All sort of revolve around the same kind of
that bubble universe sort of principle. Yeah. Which I never really... I never really got behind that personally. No, because I always felt even if there was other dimensions, it would be something like a Kluge-Klein model where it was things rolled up in on itself. or in a way that you couldn't perceive from your three-dimensional perspective, and that if you could transmit into that dimension, you would be under the effects of literally another dimension. Like if you were part of the space-time dimension, how would you survive? It's not like a parallel world where there's a bunch of people living. It's like some form of existence.
It's like an alternate existence, though, that's completely detached. So it's not relevant at all if that's the case, right?
Yeah. Like, how would you get there, and how would there be a whole universe?
It's like, well, this could all happen. Yeah. So what? There's no way to prove it, connect to it. It's just a theory at that point, right?
Yeah, yep.
Well, maybe, I don't know. Let's see the article, Mr. Devil. Maybe they're saying something here that's going to, from where we're sitting, the universe is a big, smooth expanse full of giant stars and planets. When we use the most powerful measurement tools we have to zoom in as close as we possibly can in hopes of seeing what's holding it all together, it still looks like a blank canvas. But mathematically, this simply does not make sense. Something must be missing. Here we go, right? About to break some ground here, Mr. Smith. Some physicists believe that we'd find quantum foam. Quantum foam. Look it up. An infinite expanse of subatomic space-time bubbles if we could dial our cosmic microscopes in close enough.
Sorry.
I'm just thinking. Yeah. From a dozen or so feet up in the air, a trail of marching ants looks like a crooked black line. Get a little closer and you might notice that the line is in constant motion. Zoom in a bit more and you can see the individual ants marching along. Move in even closer and you'll see the insect's segmented bodies, 6 legs, antennae, mandible, and other features.
Snit smashing and Snit's revenge.
That's where you get your magnifying glass out and light them up. Although I don't condone that because that's unfortunately how you also set your neighbor's garage on fire. I was talking about
a nice friendly tabletop game called Snit Smashing by Tom Wong.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. It was like the first game in Dragon Magazine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
As I recall from him.
From Tom...
I think Wom.
Tom Wom.
Yeah. It was one of the early ones, at least, Snit Smashing was. And then he got the idea from watching a trail of ants.
Is this cosmic foam shit boring you?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm just correlating it to the weird stuff that I know in my head.
It says the closer you get, the more complex the object becomes. Scientists believe our view of the universe works in a similar way. Quantum mechanics seeks to provide a unified theory to explain why the universe is... Where's my button? I need my button. Expanding, how gravity works, and what's really going on.
What's really going on
beneath the hood. But most of it still remains theoretical due to the challenge of observing the hidden features of the universe. When it comes to the quantum scale world, it's like watching an army of ants marching along a forest floor. Blah, blah, blah. Scroll me, buddy, because if you don't start getting to a point here real soon, TNW, the quantum foam theory has been around since 1955, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, I like the as it turns out, the multiverse theories might be more... Oh, there it goes.
Okay. Moving on, I think, right? We're not breaking anything new here. This is just a really wordy thing about...
Go back up a little bit.
Go back up?
Yeah.
The quantum foam...
Nope. As it turns out, the multiverse theories might be more grounded in reality than some of the more serious ones.
Okay, so this is just, I'm just feeling giant waste of time happening here. We bloviate much. This was kind of cool, right? I don't know if you guys caught this, but Mr. Snowden made an appearance on Joe Rogan Experience, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And which was fascinating.
I don't know. Did he? I didn't see it.
I thought I sent it to you.
You may have,
but that doesn't mean you watched it.
I think I've seen one episode so far of anything that he's done. That was that one with the guy.
The guy with the guy with the thing.
Yeah, the UFO guy.
Totally. Yeah, UFO. Oh, Bob Lazar.
No,
the
military UFO guy.
Oh,
the guy that chased the UFO.
Yeah, who's actually chased a UFO.
Yeah.
That credible sucker.
Yeah. I don't know what his name is.
Yeah, I can't think of it either, but hand salute. But anyway, one of the things that came out of that, I did watch it, and this CNN article about Edward Snowden searched the CIA's networks for proof that aliens exists, and here's what he found. Scroll. PSA for all of the Area 51 stormers, chemtrail believers, and climate change deniers. Edward Snowden has searched the depths of the U.S. intelligence networks and can report the conspiracy theories are simply not true. As a former employee of the CIA and contractor for the National Security Agency, Snowden had access to some of the nation's most closely held secrets. And like any curious mind with access to the CIA's version of Google might do, he went in search of answers to some of the society's most pressing questions. As it turns out, the U.S. government is not aware of any intelligent extraterrestrial life, he says. Quote, for the record, as far as I could tell, aliens have never contacted Earth, or at least they haven't contacted U.S. intelligence. And I make this argument today. Why the fuck would they?
Yeah.
Okay. Snowden writes in his recent memoir, Permanent Record. So it was a fascinating interview, by the way.
So let's put this in the context, shall we?
I don't know.
Are you looking for the context?
I'm like, where is it?
No.
Somewhere.
We've had discussions about this before, right? We've had discussions about what we don't disbelieve what this guy says, right?
Lieutenant Commander, what's his face?
The name we don't know.
Can't remember.
Yeah. We don't doubt that he's seen something, right?
Right.
And we've pretty much, me and you, and maybe Devlin, if he's on board, I don't know, have at least, well, because I haven't really talked with him about this.
I see him poke his head out from around his monitor back there. He's like, what, me?
But me and you at least have talked about it, and we've decided, if I'm correct, that logically speaking, we believe him, and we believe also that it's not something that some Earth person or group of people or government or corporation have, right? Because we don't logically see an upscale. Like I don't believe, maybe that aliens have crash landed here and we've taken their technology and we've built on that and devised things.
I just find it incredibly highly unlikely. Yeah. Mathematically almost non-existently likely. Yeah.
So if we rule out that aliens came from afar to here in any sense, ancient alien sense or otherwise, right? Mm-hmm. And we can rule out that it's not an independent human party, at least in this particular time that we're in, right?
Right.
Then that really only does leave extra dimensional time sort of things, right? And time is a dimension, so that's time travel is extra dimensional travel.
And I accept that fact that in my statement is when I say I find it highly mathematically unlikely, in that statement is an absolute understanding that that there may be a way with which this could be happening that I have not that my math does not even know exists or accounts for.
But that's the Bob Lazar way.
But that could be transdimensional. That could be I'm saying as far as someone getting in a spacecraft, going into some sort of stasis, hyper traveling across space time, and coming here in a flying saucer that lands through our atmosphere somehow. I just find that incredibly unlikely. That we would have never seen these things happen.
Right. If they've been happening since ancient times, right, then we would have something would have turned
up, right? Is something happening? Obviously, something is happening.
But we pretty sure, logically speaking, that it's not aliens and that it's not got anything to do with a super technology that some other country or group of people has that most people don't, which is the Bob Lazar view, right? That's what he's espousing, is that somebody has technology that's beyond reckoning,
right?
And that they're doing this stuff with it, right?
Maybe it's just like this weird thing where in the future this shit's happening and these real weird anomalous events, and it's just throwing them back in time, and it's just like trash falling out of the sky, landing on us right now. They're stuck here and they can't go back. You know, it's like
but they leave. Right.
Well,
whatever's happening is highly controlled, right? It's not like
I was thinking about the ones that crash. It's just like them ejecting their trash.
Oh, right. Yeah.
They're in hyperspace,
but I don't think
eject their trash and it sort of lands.
I don't think they've ever crashed, and if they have, there's never been wreckage that anyone's been able to find.
If Roswell's to be believed, right? That was a crash,
right? But we don't believe that because a lot of this stems from the idea that they're using that technology from that point to this point, and we don't see no correlation for that, right?
That's what. This Navy dude was really good about that, right? Obviously something's happening. We don't know what it is,
right?
And that's as far as we can go.
I know, and that's so frustrating.
You can't.
And I totally can understand why other people would be irritated with that, right? And want to have something that they can put in, some kind of a model to put in to explain it,
right?
But that's about where we're at.
That's all we can say right now. And and if there is an expert, eyewitness expert, it's these guys flying $40-some million or whatever they are, $70-some million high state-of-the-art fighter jets, latest version of the F-18 Hornets, the EFs or whatever. I think it was EFs. And they got it on instrumentation, they got it on video, and they got it with their naked eye. So that's the reason why I'm like, yep, something happened.
But they got a blob of light
that was
or
moving,
shadow. Yeah.
That was something that was moving rapidly.
Yeah.
And he did also say in that interview that was actively jamming them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they know the difference. They can tell when it's passive type stuff or active jamming. They were very specifically, their radar frequencies were being jammed.
The only thing I can think of,
it's got to be spread spectrum frequency hopping. Anyway, that's tough.
I would imagine that things would still go wrong even if you were a time traveler.
Yeah.
Right? There'd still be situations that would be beyond your control, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I think of things like other dimensions and stuff, right? Because it's almost as if anything goes wrong and whatever it is that brings these things to this place stops functioning. They just immediately zip back to wherever they're from. Like you're never going to find a crash because it has
just
to have
not tethered sort of thing.
Yeah, and once that tether breaks and the ship breaks down or crashes, every ounce of it just is gone.
His story though about the thing that came up and swallowed.
Yeah.
That a buddy of his told him that they pulled the diver back up because and then they're like, get him out of the water.
That's just
and
a whole different order of shit right there. Yeah.
I was like,
that could just be a giant Leviathan type thing, but still bad news, man. A megalodon.
You have an opinion, Mr. Devlin?
Only a giant Leviathan thing.
He doesn't like that kind of stuff.
As opposed to an alien.
No creeping Mr. Devlin out. Mr. Devlin does all the creeping out in this place. Let me tell you. All right, Mr. Devlin, what we got lined up next, Bubba? I think we beat that to death, right? Blah, blah, blah. Edward Snowden, aliens aren't a thing. At least the CIA and the intelligence agencies don't seem to know about it. I don't know, man. I thought this was kind of interesting to talk about. This is from our Sunday Visitor for Catholics who love their faith. But apparently, there's a dramatic decline of faith. Experts weigh in on the recent Pew survey. I've heard about this. There's definitely seems to be a remarkable sort of turn.
Oh, and I've actually predicted this and have my own reasons why I think this would be the case, but,
It says Christians could soon be a minority in the United States. Present demographic trends continue in the coming decades. In the last 10 years, the percentage of the country's Christians population fell by 12 percentage points from 77% of the population to 65%, a staggering decline fueled by generational change, a secularization culture, and disillusionment with religion in general.
Yeah.
Would you say that's why
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple of reasons. One is that entertainment, like they were saying, is so prevalent. There's so much that you can do, get involved in, be a part of, like the show, for instance, with you and me, right? So much that you can do that it's more fun to be doing these things than it is to be placating yourself to some divine entity. I mean, that's how I think that they look at it. I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I'm just saying I think that's what's happening, right? I think people are more preoccupied than doing that, right?
I feel though that
very pedestrian.
What this also negates, what this is talking about is a departure from one specific type of religion. Okay, you're saying, but I don't know that these people are all not religious anymore. I think that the majority of them are actually moving to more of a omnitheist.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. That's the Catholicism seems to be very pedestrian compared to all the world has to offer. They said that
comparatively speaking, you're saying there's a lot sexier versions of God out there, so to speak. Yeah, that seems to be drawing people away. More palatable versions.
Yeah, made more tailored to people's individual wants and needs and desires than the dogma that's connected with Catholicism and in most religions.
Look at the big, I would say, look at the trend of spiritualism that seems to be sweeping the country nowadays, and how many people are very, very open now about believing in different sort of spiritual structures and religious structures now that used to, like even 10 years ago in some places, it'd be really looked down upon.
See, that was the fuel for monotheism, right? Like when you start having this idea that
you start off with these competing religions and competing gods.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of frays out over time, right? It kind of frays out and gets very homogenous, and you start wondering about the value and worth of any of these deities at all, right? You might be able to just get by day without even thinking about it, perhaps, right? But if there was just one all-powerful, all-knowing deity with his one book and the one way and all of this, right? That was one of the big appeals in the pagan period when it was going into monotheism. Like one of the big attractions was that if you lived in for instance, a Roman family, you all would venerate different deities. Particularly, there would be a deity for the city. There would be deities for many other things. There's hundreds of deities, right? By a certain point.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Right, so it could be confusing, right? And with nobody being on the same page, a lot of things just didn't get done. People tended to be ritualistically doing things by themselves more than in groups because everybody was pulled for different reasons. Some of these deities were venerated when certain things were going on, right? So one of the attractions to a monotheistic religion like Christianity when it started going through the Roman society in the first century was that there was some direction. Like, if you guys want to join my religion, I can tell you specifically what you need to do to get into the kingdom of heaven, right? To be pure, to be pious. I can tell you. And it's right here in these holy texts. You don't have to wonder. And everything, with this very communal. All the holidays, everybody's on the same page. Everybody's there for the same reason.
Very functional for the time, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of reinforcement.
Very relevant.
Right?
Very relevant for the time, sure, yep.
So all these secular things now are the new pagan deities, right? Like there's so much you can get involved in, but they're so much better, right? Like before, well,
so but trust me, you're gonna like it. What are we talking about here, man?
Okay, so for instance, let's say that you are going to worship Dionysus or venerate that deity in particular, right? Which is like a deity of like wine and revelry and that sort of thing, right? And there's certain things that you have to do to be in that cult, right? And not all of them are as fun as some, like partying, right? There's some shit you got to do that's difficult.
There's some commitment, yeah.
Right.
Generally, today, it's monetary, but you
can go out and do whatever you want to do and find the thing that you want to do that doesn't tax you, right?
Right.
Like whatever that joy is, like let's say for whatever reason it's writing music. You can go and write music. And that can be your God.
Okay.
And that could be your path, right? And you don't have to worry about any of these other things, and you're not doing anything you don't want to do. Whereas in most religions...
You're saying in the sense you can make things your religion now.
Yeah, like a secular religion. That's like this being involved in and in love with and being personal with the world and living it like that is a problem. Right? Because there are people that's going to give themselves over to those kind of passions, whether it's some kind of drawing or music, or it's a passion of some other sort, like mountain climbing or whatever. Once you find that passion, you're going to live that passion, and there's nothing that's going to hold you down, right? You're going to do what you want to do. You're not going to willingly take on something that doesn't quite fit you. Right? Like, man, I really like this Catholicism, but there's a few things I really don't like about it. Yeah, well, you got to do that too.
It's funny. I was just having a conversation with a buddy of mine about this the other day, about how sort of the same ideal that who was it that you said we need to update our myths? It's the guy,
Joseph Campbell.
Joseph Campbell. We haven't dropped Joseph Campbell in a podcast
That's true.
in a while,
we
right?
haven't.
But isn't this kind of a version of what Joseph Campbell was sort of saying anyway?
Well, he was saying that we were becoming a society that was bereft of myths. That the only thing that had come along in a long time to do that was the Star Wars trilogy, because it followed the hero cycle.
At that time.
At that time, right.
Yeah. Obviously not the case today.
Right.
Holy cow.
Right. We need to talk about that too.
Okay.
But yeah, he said that, right? But now that gap has really been filled in by that same entertainment medium and all of its derivatives, right?
Okay.
If you just take Star Wars as an example alone,
okay,
there's what way can you think of that you can't consume Star Wars? There's Star Wars everything.
Yeah, fucking everything.
If you have a proclivity for hairspray, there's probably Star Wars hairspray for you to buy, right?
Yeah.
You can get your rocks off, so to speak, in whatever way you need and theme it as a Star Wars thing, right?
Sure, right.
So your mythology, your religion, those symbols that are meaningful to you can be yours in the ways you want them to be yours without that penitence that you have to pay for piety.
Let's talk about the adherence of Trekkies to the Roddenberry sort of philosophy, and they wear the clothes and the oh, dude, I was in the Navy with a dude that was a huge Trekkie.
Navy, there's a lot of Navy people who are.
No, this was well, I think he was. You know what? There's people that I was in the Navy with that listen to this, and I'm going to stop talking about that right now.
Okay.
We're just going to move on from that. Now that I think about it, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, man.
So yeah, man.
They already know from that who I'm talking about, and we'll just leave it at that. Again.
So for lack of any spiritualism that really is fitting a whole large group of people, for lack of somebody being able to see why they have to have penitence for piety, they're living their lives and doing what they want.
Right. It's kind of bizarre, huh? I just don't think that it's indicative of a people leaving faith. Period. I think it probably feels that way by that organization. Go ahead and bring it back that.
Yeah,
back
see
up,
what
Devil.
they say. I derailed you early.
In the last 10 years, the percentage of the countries we already talked about that staggering decline. Blah blah blah. This is all worrisome for organized religion. They have to find a way to evangelize. The younger generations. Boy, I just can't get that out. Said Mark Gray, Senior Research Associate and Director of CARA, Catholic Polls at the Center of Applied Research and the Apostolate at Georgetown University.
Let's break this paragraph down, right?
Why do they have to have their own polling service? When you're big enough that you have your own polling agency, you might be too big.
Can we go back up a little bit? Can we deconstruct that paragraph?
Sure.
Find a way to evangelize the younger generations. This is something that's been happening throughout all of Christianity. They've been saying a lot about how their members are declining, even in the Protestant churches and stuff, right? And the big movement for everybody is get the younger people. Let's find a way to evangelize them, to get them interested in God, right? It's almost comical, like at the beginning of Dogma, where Cardinal Glick, which is played by George Carlin, is trying to find a way to make Jesus accessible to the masses.
So it becomes out Buddy Jesus or something like that.
Yeah, because the other Jesus is this really ugly-looking, skinny, crucified. It's like it's not relatable. Right. To there's how can kids today or even us relate to that kind of a sacrifice? Right. I mean, that's like a big medieval sacrifice, right? Yeah, that's not really something we deal with today.
Weren't you telling me something about how the gods are always created in the image of the people that created them at the time? So they always wear the same clothes, but then their fashion never changes, but fashion of the world does. Yes, and then ultimately, isn't that sort of what happens? Is that they become unfashionable, and then they have to give way to something different?
Yeah. If you want to keep it having that spot, right? Because they were a much bigger deal
it's always
back
evolved.
In ancient times, but now it's evolved to almost being obsolete. That's what they're saying here, right? Like, we got to figure out a way to reinvent this for the younger generation,
or we're going to go away,
right? Yeah, and how is that going to happen when it's predicated upon tradition and dogma? Mm-hmm. I mean, how are you going to reinvent tradition and dogma?
Right.
The Christian religion did that. In a sense, to the Judaic religion, right? Like there was a lot of things that was capitulated into the Christian religion that used to belong to the Jewish people, right? But that's probably one of the better success stories. It's going to be hard to do that again.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
in this ever-changing Moore's law dictated world.
Well, it's kind of the thing with
fads.
The way, well, and for certain, the way things sort of work today is that the way I'm seeing religion, spirituality, whatever rap that you want to put around it today evolving is it's very much like the way we do television entertainment now. We want some Netflix and we want some Amazon Prime, and I'm going to take a little bit of
and we don't want to hear this whole album. We want a playlist of our favorite songs.
And I just want my song. And so it's all very sort of ad hoc, man.
The secular world's pretty nice, man.
But when you get out there and what unfortunately that also leads to is a lot of wishy-washy motherfuckers, man, that can just sort of, there is no real
religion. That's what Joseph Campbell's was saying, man. You don't have that connection to that spirit world anymore. You can't. I'm
not saying it makes them immoral in any way.
No, it doesn't make you immoral, but it makes your spirit unable to grow, right? Because your spirit is a part of you, whether God exists or not. There is a part of you that's not physical, and that's got to grow, right? And that's.
But you know what? Maybe it should be wishy-washy. I mean, maybe it shouldn't be everybody just standing around with somebody with the special tablets or the special stick or the whatever, telling everybody else, God has spoken to me and I have the rules, right?
I got the rules.
Instead of it being that, wouldn't it make better sense for the evolution of humanity that everybody sort of tries to figure it out, and you have, and then every person is sort of their own test? And from that, you would get this distilled down sort of way that everybody can exist, believe in big scary sky spirits, and not want to kill each other all the time.
And I think we have that actually already. We just need to embrace it.
Right.
To me, that's philosophy. That's what philosophy is. It's where you're
supposed to be.
Yeah, you've logically distilled certain things about life and getting along with your fellow human. Right, certain maxims, certain truisms and stuff that you need to follow to get along with everybody. That's what philosophy really is at its heart, right? It's understanding how things work and how to relate to it, and it's weird, man. The ancient Greek people invented philosophy, and they were the only ancient culture that did not have a priest class
at all. Okay. Do you think that's what helped make them unique?
I think it shows that philosophy, even at an early proto stage.
Give me this. How long was it like that then? I'll play the devil's advocate here a little bit. Like, was it like that for a long period of time?
Throughout the ancient and classical period, it was.
So how many years are we talking here?
Well, let's see.
Because if we're talking 50 years, I mean, cults can make it past that, no problem.
No, I would say probably between minus 3000 BC to 359 AD, somewhere in that area.
So over 3,400 years or 3,359 years kind of thing. That was the structural underpinning for a moralistic society.
Yeah, for the Greeks from their ancient times up until
but didn't they like to do things with each other that's looked down upon by Western societies?
Well, but a lot of ancient cultures did, like the Romans did and stuff too. Yeah,
it has nothing to do with.
It's more of an ethical situation than a moralistic situation. Although the Romans did prescribe morals to it.
Really?
But it was social morals.
Oh, okay. So it was different.
Yeah, the higher the social, it would be unseemly if person A was of a higher social class than person B, and person B was penetrating person A.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like a social issue with them. Whoever was on the bottom had to be literally on the bottom of the social class, technically.
And that person's getting all the penetration, is what you're saying.
Yeah, so what would have been a scandal to them would have been if the guy being penetrated was of a higher social class.
All they did was take the fact that that's how it works metaphorically. And they just turned it into reality, right? It made it physical.
It's okay, but
every highly placed person is fucking everybody below them, and they're fucking everybody below them.
That's how it's supposed to be in their society. They were a race of lawyers.
That's pretty messed up, man. Of lawmakers and philosophers, apparently, right?
Well, they took a lot of philosophy and made it their own from the Greek people. But when you were talking about doing things like that, that was something a lot of ancient societies did and stuff too. And of course, the Greeks, the way they looked at that generally was that a lot of the philosophers would take young men as their mentor and kind of bring them into manhood, and sometimes that meant doing that as a part of becoming a man.
Like it was
Apparently.
part of the job description?
No, it happened. I don't know if it was a part of the job description unless it was by default. Like,
I mean,
this,
like,
you
so
know,
this
this is
whole
one of the
country
things that can be
covered Harvey
done.
Weinstein's out there running around.
Well, no, I'm just saying that's like some people probably had proclivities toward it, and other people probably didn't.
Okay,
right? There were probably people that's like, man, you know, none of that. I'm just looking to,
Look,
teach you
I
got
lines here,
yeah,
man.
I got shit I want to do, right?
Yeah.
But it was known
to happen.
But
it wasn't looked down upon either in those societies and
no,
cultures,
but that
right?
was because you were supplicating to that person. You were the trainee, and they were the master, sort of a situation.
And this lasted for 3,300 plus years.
Well, not that particular thing there, but the idea that they didn't have a priest class.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Let's circling back on that.
Yeah, I mean, not from the time that I guess the Greeks would be. I'd say probably let's take that maybe from like 500 BC to maybe 395 AD.
Okay,
right? Because there was a different Greek. The ancient Greeks didn't really exist too far back. Then you're really talking about Mycenaeans and Minoans.
Okay,
and then
we're talking tribal stuff there, right?
Well, no, they were still kingdoms and large areas and stuff, but their culture kind of merged into a Greek culture.
Okay, so
like the ancient Greeks, their legend of the Minotaur comes from the Minoans, and their ancient history, the ancient Greeks' ancient history was the Minoans' history.
Okay,
right? And that was like a different culture. And part of the ancient Greeks' ancient history was the Mycenaeans, right? So before the Greeks, there's like the Mycenaeans and the Minoans, and eventually the Mycenaeans wipes out the Minoans pretty much, and then the culture kind of dies out and then kind of reflourishes as the Greek culture. Like there's this weird die out, and then it comes back, and then all this philosophy and stuff starts being invented, and all these inventions start occurring, and eventually,
what's the there's obviously some sort of trigger. Has that ever been sort of considered? Because it sort of happens alarmingly quick, right?
They don't know what it was that made the big die out. They could just tell for a while people were receding back into the center part of the land area, and the economy broke down and stuff like that. And then for whatever reason, it started flourishing again, and it was more than ever.
Okay. So it wasn't like climate related or anything that they can find?
Not that they can find. I mean, the same thing happened in the Sumerian
it could be disease.
Empire
it could be so
before,
many different things, right? Some sort of blight that blows through or whatever causes mass starvation.
Even.
Yeah, a flu, right? A virus. Wipes
pandemic.
out 10-20% of them, and then.
And back then, you could maybe wipe out enough people fast enough that it didn't transmit. With the ancient Sumerians, though, they think it was salination of the soil that.
Say what?
Like where they were bringing in water through irrigation, and the water would evaporate and leave salt on the ground, and eventually that was harder and harder for them to grow.
So they were bringing salt water in and salting their fields or watering their fields with salt water?
Yeah, like they had a bit of salt in it, apparently, and over time it built up, and it
just salted the fields.
Yeah.
Then nothing would grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you don't. Never mind.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Devlin, what else we got coming up here, bub? Damn it, man. That was great, dude. It was a little bit of a history. I didn't realize. I always learn something new when I talk to you, man. And that whole thing with the Greeks, I never understood the context of that, but that's significant.
Well, I was going to say
no priest class, no religious class, period, for over 3,000 years.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nuts. That sort of really puts a pin in the fact that to be a moral society, it has to have some sort of deification, deity that leads it somehow. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way, and they can last for thousands of years.
Yeah. And they had their ups and downs, but they were ups and downs of different sorts, you know. They just weren't religious ups and downs.
I think it's a personal thing. I don't really give a shit about whether my tank believes in God or not. You know what I mean? Or my fighter jet, or it doesn't. None of that matters to me. It's whether I do or not. That's all that matters to me. This one comes from Unilad. Joker becomes highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. So remember we talked about this.
Kudos, man. Highest grossing R-rated movie.
Heard here we go with the hand. Hang on a minute. Yes, Mr. Devlin.
I've heard this. It passed Deadpool and how much money they got, and Ryan Reynolds congratulated them on doing so.
Wow.
Yeah, DC on fire right now. DC Comics, right?
Yay! Finally.
No.
It appears there's no such thing as bad press amid a storm of controversy since its release. The Clown Prince of Crime's origin story has been raking in audience cash since its release. So this was the movie that everybody was talking about. It should be boycotted. And I remember I said that. It makes me want to go see it more now. Like, I'm way more interested in it now that it has gotten some people very upset. I think Devlin was on the same page with that,
Have you guys still not seen it?
I haven't yet. We haven't yet. After beating Venom's domestic box office record for an October opening drawing in 96 million buckaroos, as opposed to the latter's 80.25 million, it was clear Todd Phillips' film was going to attract decent numbers, but this is unprecedented.
It's like they like it better than Batman.
Can't imagine why. Or Suicide Squad, I think, was the last one.
I just meant even as a character. I mean, people really like the Joker.
Joker's officially topped the R-rated leaderboard, currently sitting at a massive $785.5 million as per Forbes at the worldwide box office. 2016's Deadpool, which introduced Ryan Reynolds, say that 3 times fast, sweary, spandex-wearing hero to adoring cinema goers, made a huge $783 million at the worldwide box office. To what Devlin said, Reynolds even took a moment to congratulate the Clown Prince of Crime on Instagram in a true R-rated fashion by saying, "You motherfucker." I love it. That's brilliant. We got to go see this, man. I'm just waiting for a weekend where I'm not doing Mach 10 with my freaking hair on fire. I should point that out as we sort of getting close to closing up here, man, because we're coming up on the 1 hour mark. But what was next there, Devlin? Next in articles. Yeah. This was a good one. We'll close out with talking about this one. But anyway, the point about Joker was we'd covered that about how people wanted to boycott it. And it's like sort of putting the explicit lyrics sticker on an album. I'm going to listen to it at least once. I want to see what the hubbub is about. Okay, this is from IFL Science. Lost pre-Columbian city discovered in the region where the El Dorado legend originates. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, maybe there's gold.
Tales of glistening golden city hidden deep in the jungles of South America have captivated explorers and historians and fans of Indiana Jones for half a millennium. Researchers have now discovered a lost settlement in northern Colombia that could potentially have helped spawn the legend of El Dorado. Before we go any further, it's worth pointing out that the fabled city probably never actually existed. It is thought that the term El Dorado, meaning the golden one, was first coined by Spanish conquistadors in relation to a tribal chieftain who, according to certain accounts, covered himself in gold dust on the shore of a lake in the Colombian Andes as part of his coronation rite.
That makes a lot of sense.
Does it?
Yeah.
Over time, the story was altered, adapted, and mutated, resulting in the enduring myth of the city, sometimes empire, of El Dorado. In all likelihood, the spinning of this tale was fueled by encounters between early conquistadors and a civilization known as the Tirana, who lived in the jungle-covered mountains of the Sierra Scroll, Mr. Devlin. Nevada. De Santa Marta, near Colombia's Caribbean coast. Caribbean? I don't know. And who were notable for their numerous gold ornaments. So must have been a thing. That's where the aliens came in first. Right? Because they turned those people into gold miners because aliens, for some reason, can't drag an asteroid through space made of solid gold, but need monkeys to dig it out of the ground.
A lot more fun to figure out how to get over here and live in our atmosphere and genetically engineer aliens that they've never seen before.
I know, right?
Into something that's similar to them to
Sounds
do a
like
job.
A party, right?
Oh, my God. Sign me up.
For that reason, the research of El Dorado is often focused on this region and led to the discovery of a large settlement dubbed something I can't pronounce, also known as the Lost City, La Ciudad Perdida. I don't know. Anyway, back in the 1970s, despite becoming a popular destination for archaeologists and adventure tourists, this pre-Columbian metropolis is sadly lacking in golden streets, meaning the search for El Dorado continues.
Sadly lacking in golden streaks.
Do you think they're ever going to find it? You ever think?
No.
You think they're ever going to find this kind of thing? Because he didn't even Cortez talk about seeing, or do you think he was just ginning up a story so that he could keep getting money to come back over? You think that's what it was primarily?
I would think.
That's awful rude, don't you think?
Yeah.
Anyway, you want to wrap up there, man? We're coming up on an hour.
Yeah,
I'm losing my voice.
Well, then we better. I'll save this discussion of the other thing I was talking about for later.
Oh, that's right. There was something, wasn't there?
Yeah, time dilation.
Yeah, we still got to do that. And I got at least another article, a whole show, if not 2 shows of articles already lined up. And you keep sending me such good stuff too, man. But we didn't get it. We got the blood one. I think that was one from you. There was another one we wanted to talk. The origins of all civilization was found, or something like that, right?
Yeah, let's hit that real quick.
Okay, let's pull that up,
just real quick.
I think it's one of the last articles.
I wanted to make a comment about that too. Cassie had sent this to me.
This is from the Independent. It says, ancestral home of all human beings discovered by scientists.
Yeah, and it's, in Africa, in the heart of Africa. And I think they say where it's at there.
Yeah, the Independent, Devlin. Scientists have pinpointed a fertile river, where'd that go, in northern Botswana as the ancestral home of all human beings.
Yeah. Isn't that neat?
So they just throw a pin in the map and go, everybody came from here.
Well, that's the comment I wanted to make, was almost everybody came from there. All humans came from there. Human origins came from there.
All other animals and species on the planet came from other places. Is
other humans on the planet came from other places.
All right, you've been in my brain here.
Bro.
How do you mean?
There was Neanderthals, too, on the planet.
Okay.
They're another type of humans. They're not Homo sapiens.
Oh.
Right? So Homo sapiens came from Botswana or whatever that is. But Neanderthals didn't.
It does say that. It makes this distinction. The earliest anatomically modern humans, Homo sapiens, arose 200,000 years ago in the vast wetland south of Zambezi River, which was the cradle of all mankind, a new study has revealed.
Yeah.
Is he saying they're painting with too broad a brush here?
No, I'm just wanting to make sure that people who read this article, or at least think about these things, understand that modern humans are a composite of the various humans that arise in different places and sometimes different times. For instance, as we've mentioned before, after having my genome tested by 23andMe, they said I had more Neanderthal DNA than 99% of the people that they had ever tested, right?
Yeah.
So I carry a lot of Neolithic DNA from 60,000 years ago. At least at the end point of that. So they started a different area, right? So I'm a composite. Mostly I'm Homo sapien from that place.
Okay.
But there is a large part of me comparatively, at least. That's not, yeah. I mean, it's a really small percentage of my overall human DNA, right? It's I think it's like less than 1% or something crazy like that. But nevertheless, it shows that species mingled and stuff. So a part of that ancestry is going to come from a different time and a different place than another part of that ancestry. And that's just
So this isn't throwing the lawn dart in and saying everything that walks upright and is considered a human being today started here.
Right.
It's not saying that.
Just the human part of us started from there.
The earliest anatomically modern humans, Homo sapiens.
Homo sapien part started from there.
But there's other parts.
Yeah, like the Neolithic part. Like a lot of people, maybe you guys have Neolithic genes in you.
Homo dumbasis?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that one's, we need to get some more chlorine in the gene pool for that one.
I think there was a third one that they've recently discovered too. When we were talking about it before, Deruvian.
Maybe.
Yeah, there was like another one so there's like at least 3 species of humans that were on the planet, and we know that modern humans have a bit of Neolithic DNA along with their Homo sapien DNA, all of their Homo sapien DNA, right?
Okay.
But you may find out that there may be that third species might be a part of some people too, right? But there is a little bit of those other species in us still, that DNA, and I'm a prime example of that, scientifically speaking.
Right.
So, when I think of my origins, I know that 99% of my origins comes from
here.
There, right?
Right.
But I know there's like a small percentage of me that also comes from the Neanderthal Mountain Valley.
It's kind of
up the
interesting to
border.
point that out, because when you talk about things that separate people, like lineage, race, whatever, it's like it's 1% of every 99% of everything else.
And when it comes to this, going back that far, there's the same percentages almost
that's messed
apply.
up, isn't it? That's a real mind fuck, man. Like, really, that's like you got that's like arguing over blue eyes versus green eyes. People, that's nuts. All right, man. I want to wrap up there. You guys got anything else, Mr. Devlin? You got anything to add back there, Mr. Bond Villain? No. Good to go?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Check us out at www.noshitcast.com. It's KNOWSHITCAST.com. Hey, bring up the show includes, because I think there was something else for some reason I wanted to put in there at the end of the show this time. Let me see here. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you would do us a favor, if you want to check out that voodoo that we do so well, you can check us out over on YouTube and actually watch us doing this now in the studio. It's kind of a new thing we're working on. So look us up. You can look up the same name. It's No Shit Cast, all one word. You can look us up on YouTube as well. Hit those like and subscribe buttons. Please give us a share. We would really appreciate it, and we will catch you all next time. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye, Sickles.
Bye.
That's cool, huh?